January 26th, 2023, and the time is 4:30 p.m. At this time, we will do roll call.
Jay Norris.
Christine Shu. Seema Sarafan.
Joyce Shuey.
Carolyn Watson.
Superintendent Art Jarvis.
Thank you. At this time, I'll ask Executive Director John Harrison to please introduce our student. Or I think we actually have several students tonight.
We have three, and one of them is out there. Sophia, come on in. So tonight we have Sophia Fernandez from Odell Middle School. You can stop right there. We have Hannah Kim from Chinook Middle School, and Ryan Ganak Velasquez from Odell Middle School. So three students tonight, and we're going to have, I believe Sophia is going to lead us in the pledge.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sophia. So as soon as you're ready, we will be listening. If you make sure your mic is enabled, just turn on the button in front of you on the microphone. Yeah, when it's green, we hear you. Okay, so we will follow you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sophia. And Ryan will lead us in the land acknowledgement. Go ahead, Ryan.
We acknowledge that we are on the Indian-glass land of the Coast Salish people who have reserved treaty rights to this land, specifically the Druids, Suamish, and Suquamish tribes. We thank these caretakers of this land who have lived and continue to live here since time. In memorials, we reflect on the historical content that brings us to reside on this land and accept responsibility to intertropes. Erasing, we commit to ongoing partnerships with the Suquamish tribes as we listen to, learn from, and lead with their guidance.
Thank you, Ryan. And so right now, President Sarafan, I'm going to, in just a minute here, have each one of these students tell you a little bit about the service and leadership they perform in their schools and community. The reason why we're doing that tonight is in honor of your service and leadership as a school board. I think, as most people know, and if you don't, January is School Board Recognition Month in the state of Washington. And as a volunteer board, we ask you to do a lot. For the district, you set a vision, you provide strategic leadership, you provide effective governance, and as we saw tonight, you hired the superintendent. It's a lot, and we as a community really appreciate your leadership and your service. And these young leaders are the emerging leaders of tomorrow, and they're each going to talk really quickly a little bit about the service they do in each of their schools. So we'll start with Hannah. Go ahead, Hannah.
So for one of my service, I decided to volunteer to be a tour guide for a 5th grade parent night. It's basically where 5th grade families, they come over to Chinook Middle School and they get to experience what it's like to be there and also get to have the knowledge about the school. So when their own children comes, they know everything. And this event was, I believe, hosted by NJHS, which is National Junior Honor Society. And basically what they do is they kind of like host various events and fundraisers and campaigns. And I also happen to be in NJHS, but because of time, I'm going to pass it on to Sophia, where she can talk a little bit more about her own services as well.
Thank you. I haven't done as much service with the school as with the community. With Boys and Girls Clubs of Bellevue, I helped create boxes to create hygiene products for domestic violence victims to donate them. And right now I'm currently working to put on a hygiene drive to donate to people of Mary's Place in Seattle. And I've also done some charity work with the organization Blankets for a Cause in Seattle. We did a drive for clothes and food to give out to homeless people in December 5th of last year.
Thank you, Sophia. Ryan? Your volunteer work, the kind of things you do at school, your leadership opportunities. Okay. So,
I am in a leadership class and I have been serving my community by helping teachers prepare lessons, leading groups projects that boost the memorial of our school, and participating in a weekly campus cleanup with my classmates.
thank you, Ryan. And at this point, we're going to ask Hannah to read a proclamation from our governor, Governor Inslee. Go ahead, Hannah.
Whereas the mission of Washington's public school system is to ensure that all students achieve at high levels and possesses the knowledge and skills to be responsible members of a democratic society and enjoy productive and satisfying lives. And whereas Washington's 295 locally elected school boards of directors and 9 elected educational service district, also known as ESD, boards are the core of the public education governance system in our state, serve more than 1.1 million students. There you go. Thank you. Serve more than 1.1 million students, have a combined annual budget of over $15 billion, and employ approximately 120,000 people. And whereas school boards play a crucial role in promoting student learning and achievement by creating a vision, establishing policies and budgets, and setting clear standards of accountability for all involved. And whereas school board directors are directly accountable to residents in their district and regions, serving as a vital link between members of the community and their schools. And whereas school boards and ESDs provide a passionate voice of advocacy for schools and the welfare of school children. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize school board directors as outstanding public servants and champions for public education. Now, therefore, I, Jay Inslee, Governor of the State of Washington, do hereby proclaim January 2023 as School Board Recognition Month in Washington. And I encourage all people in our state to join me in this special observance. Signed this 4th day of January 2023, Governor Jay Inslee.
Thank you. And I'm going to, thank you. Round of applause for our directors and our students. So Ryan, I'm going to ask you to give Director Watson, this lady right here, her certificate. Thank you, Ryan. And Sophia, you can provide that one to Director Chu. And Hannah to President Serafan. Thank you again, students, and thank you again, board. We appreciate you.
Thank you. So thank you to the students who came. We appreciate it very much. We will go quickly to acknowledgements. We just heard about this month and the recognition from the governor. In addition, January 27th is Holocaust Remembrance Day. We now move to approval of tonight's agenda. I ask for a second to my motion for tonight to approve tonight's agenda. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Okay, is there any discussion? Director Aris?
I would like to suggest to amend our agenda slightly by adding additional time for public comment.
Yes, I think we had already actually accounted for that. So I think we are planning, we usually take 10 public commenters, and I think we've doubled and probably will go beyond as needed. So thank you.
Right. Thanks.
I don't think we actually need an adjustment per se to our calendar. So we currently have doubled it already. And so I think we are planning to sort of see how that goes. So you'll see that as item 4.
Is that, are we doubling it to 20 minutes?
No, we've doubled it to 40.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, so the motion carries. I turn now to our consent agenda and ask if we have a second to my motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving tonight's consent agenda, please say aye.
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 The motion carries. We turn now to our superintendent update, which is item 3. I do note that because there's a fair amount of content for the superintendent, we split out his update at items 3 and 5. You can see that in the agenda, and that's to enable us to start on time with our public comment. Okay, Director Jarvis.
Thank you, President Seraphin. First, I'd like to do two things. Some of you know that this is my 35th year as superintendent. So as I watch Dr. Aramaki brought forth by the board and to begin his first year as superintendent in July, I congratulate you. I think it's a fantastic choice for Bellevue. I have watched in districts that I have served where the superintendent stays for 10 years, 12 years, 13 years. I would love to see that for Bellevue, and I think Dr. Aramaki is one of those. So I just add my congratulations to you for an outstanding work that you did in the selection process, and I congratulate Dr. Aramaki. I also would join the students as they wished you and gave you a thank you for your service as board and board recognition month. The month of January and the tribute at this time is very little in response to the tremendous number of hours and dedication that you all put in as board members serving your community in a volunteer position that truly is probably one of the most difficult volunteer positions. Again, I've served many, many years as superintendent. You cannot do this work without a strong school board and a successful school board. And I say thank you for the 5 of you and the work you do and the time you give, but most of all, just the wonderful district that you provide to the students of Bellevue. And so I say thank you, board, for that work and that contribution to children. Item 3.1, we have scheduled part of the annual plan progress report on student well-being. And there are 3 staff members that will be coming forth to share at least a highlight of that report. And that would be Corinne, Heather Sanchez, and Patty Siegert. So I thank you for being here to present, and student well-being has been one of the highest focus, and I know honestly of no district that has done it better than Bellevue. So well done.
Hello, test. Okay. All right. Good evening, members of the board. There's a team of us here this evening to share our progress report towards our student well-being goals. We'll do a quick round of introductions and then we'll just jump into the content. My name is Heather Sanchez. I am Executive Director of Schools, P5 for the district. Pleased to be here with you this evening.
Good evening, Patty Sigworth, Executive Director of Schools, and I'm on the other end, middle and high.
Good evening. My name is Corinne Spo and I'm the Director of Counseling. It's good to be here today.
So that's easier. All right, so we're here to provide a brief update. You have the full report in your board packet. And so what we have before you is just a few slides in brief to provide some updates on our progress towards our goals for student well-being. This is an area that continues to be part of our key priorities. And we do have some really positive updates to share with you this evening. And we're really excited to share what's going well, as well as some of our next steps as we think about how we can continually improve our efforts in this area. So just in brief, these are our goals and our beliefs centering around the well-being of all of the students within our community. Next slide. And so what you're going to see in brief in our presentation this evening is just our mid-year progress towards our student well-being priorities. And so again, just to recap, we have goals in the area of belonging, social emotional learning, and mental health. As I previously stated in brief, we do have some really exciting progress to share, but we also acknowledge that we still have a lot of work to do and are dedicated to continuing to have laser-like focus in these areas. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Segworth, who's going to share, and then Corinne will share following that. Next slide, please.
So the successes achieved related to student well-being on behalf of our students, our families, and our school communities, it honestly is truly worthy of celebration. We have deep appreciation for our staff. They have embraced and prioritized student well-being over time, leaning heavily into this work. We have immense gratitude for the collaboration with and the engagement of so many community partners and our families in this work. We united for a common purpose. And a special thank you to our students who have led this work through their voices, their advocacy, and their actions, which have guided our strategies, resource allocations, decision, and actions. Concentrated and collaborative efforts related to a district strategic plan priority by so many constituencies that are in and outside of our district, it's rare and it's profoundly impactful. In collaboration, we met the lofty strategic plan goal to increase students' favorable responses related to sense of belonging at all levels, elementary, middle, and high. We reduced subgroup disparities related to sense of belonging in 9 of the 11 subgroups. At all levels, we increased students' favorable response rates related to self-efficacy, and over 90% of students receiving mental health services reported an increase in coping skills.
Next slide, please. So this evening, I get to share the next steps in terms of our student well-being goal. We will continue to use our MTSS process, our multi-tier systems of support, to elevate the effectiveness of both the Tier 1 targeted and Tier 2 and 3 efforts as it relates to student well-being. Our schools are committed to focusing and expanding the delivery of the Tier 1 social emotional learning curriculum. Doing this with fidelity across the district will ensure that our students receive high quality Tier 1 social emotional learning to make the most impact. Through our Reimagine Middle School work, we'll be able to, part of that process is to also be searching for a high quality SEL curriculum, and find and search for innovative ways and for opportunities for where that delivery could take place of that high quality Tier 1 SEL curriculum. And then we're going to continue to find creative ways to solicit our student voice. That's really important for us as we make tweaks in the work or shift our practices according to the feedback of our students, especially our various subgroups. We want to make sure that we are lifting their voices and shifting our practices as needed. And then lastly, with the ESSER federal funds sunsetting at the end of this school year, we are considering all funding sources, including potential grants available for student mental health. And student mental health continues to be a top priority for our students in the district. And so our mission continues to be to provide evidence-based counseling with a highly trained mental health team. Thank you for allowing us to share the update with you this evening.
With a full set of items this evening, I'm going to stress that, again, I will take questions if you'll give me questions in writing or text or follow up, and then we'll make sure we get back to you. So thank you for that report. between 3.1 and 3.2, I'm actually going to insert a second because I know a number of people are here to talk about the consolidation, and so I'd like to give an update. And Melissa DeVita, Deputy Superintendent, who's really been managing that process, I asked Melissa if she would give a brief update. And Melissa, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, board. The problem that we are facing is that we currently do not have enough elementary students to fill 18 elementary schools. Even if people are questioning our forecast for continuing declining enrollment, we have already lost enough students that we cannot fill 18 elementary schools. So that is what we're looking at right now. And if we look at the lower grades that we have, 11 or kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, and fourth grade, we're at about 1,200 students per grade level, which if we currently spread that out and grow that through our middle schools and high schools, we do reach a district enrollment of about 15,600 students. We are currently graduating 1,600 students per grade level per year for 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And with us only bringing in 1,200 students, and this year we only brought in 1,100 students, that means just every year when kids graduate, we're losing 400 students, which is equivalent to the median size of an elementary school. So that is what we are facing right now. And as our elementary schools continue to shrink, we really have two choices. We can either begin cutting services to students and supports to students, and that could be things like counselors, librarians, assistant principals, general school assistants, paraprofessionals, grounds and maintenance crews, custodians, professional development, and it could even spread into some of our secondary schools and cause us to look at things like a 7-period day. That is one option. Or we can look at consolidating schools and right-sizing our district for the number of students that we have and maintaining the quality of education that Bellevue is known for and the supports in our elementary schools. Our goal is to maintain and strengthen the education for our students and the opportunities for our students, and to be able to invest in innovative opportunities, continue to invest in mental health supports like you just heard about, continue to invest in art and music classes and language classes for our students and families. So we've been going through a process. We have met with the staff and of 7 schools under consideration for consolidation. And we've had meetings with 6 of the 7 schools. And we have the 7th school scheduled for Friday with the community. We've also had a virtual meeting. And some of the things that we've been hearing are many understand the problem that we are facing and why we are looking at the potential consolidation. Some would like us to slow down, while others want us to continue on this path that we have already established, because the uncertainty is causing anxiety for them and they would rather focus on the path forward than the indecision. All are saying they would welcome new students and more programs at their schools, and I truly do believe that. There have been questions about the process and the timeline. One particular question is around, are we following our own policy and procedure? And the answer is yes, that we will be. We have not yet hit the beginning of the process. And the beginning of that is us providing a recommendation to the board. We have not made a recommendation to the board at this time. We are looking at 7 different schools in an effort to consolidate 3. So the work that we're doing now is to support that recommendation to the board. And once that recommendation is done, then that 90-day period for board hearings and other input will begin. It did not make sense for us to hold hearings for all 7 schools when they may not even be part of the final recommendation. So the work we're doing now is really about collecting information from the communities and the staff in order to look at, and along with information about their schools, but also additional ideas that they would like us to consider and look at. And we are working through that input right now. Some of the issues that have been raised, I talked a little bit about already. One is the timeline. And while we are moving pretty quickly to make an initial recommendation to the board, following that timeline, we will begin working on the hearings and those things, but then we will also start working on co-designing the process for the transition. And we do not have a full timeline around when those transitions will happen, how they will happen, if it will be, for example, a grade by grade movement, if it will be all at once. All that work needs to be done. And our goal is to do that in a process with the community, with the staff, with the schools that would be impacted. And we would include them in looking at things like boundaries, timing, inclusion, and all of those pieces. The second issues that have been coming up is special programs, and the directors in those areas are working with the staff and the families in those special programs directly and are considering multiple options in those discussions. We are looking at the 7 smallest schools, 2 of which are title schools. And part of this is about having room for students where they could go and combining schools. We analyzed all 18 elementary schools when we first looked at this and came to the conclusion that these were the 7 being considered based on things like location, the number of students, the forecasted number of students, accessibility to the school, and options for consolidation. The final recommendations will include other criteria that is both qualitative and quantitative, and will also include input from the community and staff. This criteria will be presented as part of that report. And then lastly, I know there's a lot of questions about deep community engagement, and Eva Collins was going to talk a little bit about that in more detail. Eva?
As Melissa said, the implementation of any recommendations would really require community involvement and our staff involvement. There's many of the decisions that we don't want to presume to know what would be best in terms of the placement, particularly of specific central programs like special education center programs that we have in some of the schools. So if one of the schools that was selected did have a district center program, we would want to talk about, well, what are all of the options that would be available and what would be best for our students served in those programs, and work with parents and staff to make those decisions rather than us just deciding and assigning. And so bringing together our staff, our principals, and our community to help us decide like how to do some of those things, but also, as Melissa mentioned, what the transition would look like and how to best do that in a way that is most celebratory and supports the social and emotional needs of our students as well.
Thank you, Eva. So where are we and what are our next steps? Well, our next steps are to review the staff and community feedback and ideas that we have and that we will be continuing to receive as we meet with one more school tomorrow evening. February 9th, we will make a recommendation to the Board of Education. February 16th, we will have a work session with the board and have a deep conversation regarding this recommendation and make sure that we can answer any questions that the board may have. And then the week of February 27th, after midwinter break, we will hold the hearings for the 3 schools in the recommendation. In addition, we will be publishing a calendar with information regarding when communities can expect various things to happen. So that's where we're at right now. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Melissa, can I just ask one quick question?
Sure.
I know you're having all of these sessions that folks can come and kind of give ideas and share feedback and so forth and get information. If people haven't been able to attend one and can't attend the one tomorrow, I mean, obviously people who are here tonight, you'll hear them because you're here. But if they'd like to submit feedback, how do they do that? What's the most efficient way? I know the board is getting a lot of information, super helpful because it helps us understand how to process the recommendation, but we don't do the design. We don't like that's the, that's the work that you guys are doing. So how do we make sure you guys get that in the most timely fashion? Where do people go?
So we're doing two things. One is we're Let's Talk. If you go into Let's Talk and do the planning session, all of those are being reviewed and compiled with the input that we've gotten from the various sessions. And so that's the most expedient way to provide that input. And the input that we're getting through emails, Mr. Harrison is looking at, and we're going to be pulling that into the input that we've already gotten as well. Direct emails to me is probably not the best option because I'm getting over 200 a day. And so it's really difficult for me to get through all of those.
I see Director Aris's hand is up. I just want to be mindful. Superintendent update's not done yet, and we have public comment. So I just keep that in context, please. Thanks.
Thank you for giving us the update, Melissa. I just have one quick question regarding the policy, and I hear the outline of dates in, that you provided us, including the hearing sessions. I know that in the policy, it says that there will be a community committee component. When and where can the community look into being part of that? Will it be posted online, or how will that be communicated with the community?
We are looking at forming that committee potentially right now, and I am in the process of doing that. I don't know that it'll be a huge, broad committee. We're trying to figure out the best form for that and how to make that happen. So more information to come.
Thank you.
Jarvis?
I would say that I'm going to beg the indulgence of our accreditation presentation because I think we're at that point where that will get moved till after the public comment. And thank you.
Okay, so will we move forward with public comment, correct? Okay, all right. So I turn to our board coordinator, who is carefully handling, along with Executive Director Harrison, the public comment process. So thank you, Ms. Worth. And I will, thank you. So we'll wait for you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Oh. Greg, can we fix my mic so that I'm not echoing? Tell me if I'm doing something wrong. I'm gonna head up here in the meantime. Uh-oh. Hello, hello? Hello, hello? Can someone online give me a thumbs up? Joyce is giving me the thumbs up that she can hear me. Great. Okay, so our public comment process normally allows for walk-ins if not all of our spots are filled. For the evening meeting tonight, we had 51 people sign up for 20 spots before our deadline at noon yesterday. So I have not taken walk-ins for my list tonight. I will ask that if you are online and you received a spot to do public comment, please raise your hand using the raise hand button so that I can see you at the top of the list. If you are in the room and you haven't checked in with me and you're on the list to do public comment, please come up and see me as soon as I sit back down. And if you are online and you are on that standby list, if you were one of the 51 people that registered but not one of the 20 that was chosen to speak, please also click the raise your hand button. I do have a few standby slots tonight. Okay, so with that, I'm going to ask Greg to advance our slides so that we can see the list of folks. And we will go through comments in this order. So Ariel Harris, you're going to be up first.
Okay, before we hear from our first public commenter, I will just ask if you could go back once to that slide. I'm going to just talk about the our policies and our rules around public comment. And I know many of you are very familiar with these. We will leave that up for a second. If we can just go to the prior slide. This is, we do need to share this. So this is our time during our meeting where we receive public comment. And we ask you to consider looking at that slide because it gives the details of our public comment and our expectations. They're on our agenda. It's also displayed on our screen. We want you to remember that you can also communicate with us by email or voicemail. We start by just telling you we're grateful to get your public comment, and we appreciate the thoughtful input we receive. You may not realize it, but we do read every email to a person. We read everything that comes in. We don't always have a chance to reply, but we do read it. Because of the limitations of our calendar, usually we limit public comment to 20 minutes, and we limit remarks to not more than 2 minutes. And that's just so that we can hear from as many people as possible. Tonight, we've doubled that time. What you should know is we listen to all your comments, but we generally don't respond from the dais. We are listening and we take it all in. We do have expectations around public comment, and that's mainly around just being civil and behaving in a civil manner. That is generally not an issue, but we do take the time to share with you that because this is live streamed, we have to be thoughtful about unacceptable kinds of language, including slander, libel, invasion of privacy, obscenities, harassment, intimidation, bullying, or discrimination. You should also know that we can't accept public comment on pending investigations, those that might involve student discipline, allegations of employee misconduct, and allegations of discrimination or harassment. And that is to preserve our ability to be able to be listeners on appeal. So again, we thank you, and we want you to know that while we'll be listening to all your comments intently, we generally do not respond in this setting. So with that, we will start with the first public commenter, and we can advance the slide.
Go ahead. Hola, mi nombre es Ariel y yo voy a hablar de las cosas únicas de Sherwood. Una cosa especial es que tenemos el programa específico. Eso significa que nosotros vamos a escuela con personas que tienen habilidades diferentes, así que nuestra escuela ha adaptado a mejor incluir a estos estudiantes. Por ejemplo, tenemos baños especiales y un parque nuevo que es más adaptable a más estudiantes. Si mueves a nuestros amigos pacíficos a otra escuela, podría ser más difícil moverse y no tener sus amigos. También, Sherwood Forest tiene muchas familias de bajos ingresos, más que otras escuelas. En este momento, nuestra diversidad de ingresos es una fortaleza de Sherwood, pero nosotros podemos perder eso si nos cambias con otra escuela. Nuestros maestros nos han enseñado que igualdad no es el mismo, es que todos tienen las cosas que necesitan para ser exitoso. Sherwood está haciendo un gran trabajo de todos los estudiantes las herramientas a ser exitosos. Y por favor, piensa cómo tus cambios afectan a nuestra comunidad. Gracias. Hi, I'm Meryl, and I'm in the Sherwood Forest Dual Language program at Sherwood. I love my school because the teachers help and support your goals, and they make learning fun. I'm pretty sure you've heard something like this 100 other times, because the truth is that every school in this district is awesome. So I really wanted to highlight the unique things about Sherwood. To me, one of the special things is that we have the Pacific program, and that means we go to school with people that have different abilities. So our school has adapted to best include these students. For example, we have special bathrooms and a new, more accessible playground. If you move our Pacific friends to another school, it might not be the right fit for them, and they also might not have their friends. Also, Sherwood has more low-income families than other schools. Right now, our income diversity is a strength of our school, but we may lose that if you combine schools. Our teachers have taught us that equity is not when everyone has the same thing, but whenever everyone has the tools they need to succeed. Sherwood is doing a great job giving every student the tools they need to succeed, and please think about how these changes affect our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Carol Pitzel Cruz, and I am a parent of a student at Eastgate. This is Cooper here. He's in 4th grade. And I also have a student at Tillicum Middle School. I'm also a product of the Bellevue school system. I graduated from Newport, and I'm not going to tell you what year. But I'm here today to ask you to pause the school closure process and fully evaluate all options at all school levels and with full input from the community. We have been presented with a binary choice: close elementary schools or cut staff and programming. But there are options. If we truly have an immediate shortfall, why not sell some of BSD's surplus property? BSD has answered this question online by stating that if we sell now, we won't be positioned to handle growth that may occur in 20 to 30 years. But if we look at Ringdahl, that school has been closed for 36 years and has been closed through enrollment increases. And in 2019, when BSD looked for new space for elementary schools, BSD purchased a new property rather than choosing Ringdahl. We need to choose the kids that are here today and will be hurt by these decisions rather than something that may occur 20 to 30 years from now. And that has not, in fact, happened in the past 36 years that Ringdahl has been closed. The BSD elementary school analysis that has been shared with us is cursory at best and fails to provide meaningful answers for Eastgate students. For example, the alternative for Eastgate is currently listed as Spirit Ridge or a combination of Spirit Ridge and Somerset. But BSD acknowledges in that same presentation that both of these schools are full. Somerset is in fact, quote unquote, very full and cannot accommodate Newport Heights. And Spirit Ridge cannot accommodate Eastgate without moving its advanced learning program to another school. Despite this glaring failure, Eastgate is not even listed in the schools with limited alternatives, but other schools, such as Clyde Hill, are listed as full neighboring schools and are not included in the list of schools up for closure. Why is that?
I'm sorry, Carol, your time is up.
Okay. I'd also just like to object to this process that providing 2 minutes to people on this incredibly important topic and a single meeting of 60 minutes is wholly unacceptable and can be changed. We can do better than this. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Colleen Crow, and I'm a parent of third grade twin students at Sherwood Forest. I'm here to offer my thoughts on the potential school closures being considered by the school district. Over the past 2 weeks, the parents in our community have spent hundreds of hours preparing materials, translating documents from English to Spanish, and doing outreach, the same effort we would have expected from you during such a life-altering process. I am very concerned about the speed, lack of due diligence, community involvement, and transparency with which this process is being conducted. My biggest concern, though, is for the apparent lack of equity in regard to our students. As you know, Sherwood Forest is a Title I school. According to data pulled from OSPI this month, our school has the second highest percentage of low-income students in an elementary school in the district. In fact, the 7 schools being considered for closure comprise almost the entire bottom 50% of low-income elementary school populations, ranging from Eastgate at 12% to Sherwood Forest at 45.9%. None of the 6 schools with the lowest percentage of low-income students are being considered for closure, and none of the schools being considered for closure offer advanced learning. Why? Why did the October 2019 district report titled BSD Growth and Planning, A Path Forward find that the schools with the AL programs were the most crowded and that even today those schools are near or over capacity? That report, by the way, took 18 months to develop and was community-led as opposed to the current process. We deserve better. It's time for the school district to take a very hard look in the mirror. The equity policy for the district claims that equity is rooted in the values of the district. It acknowledges that inequities such as race, income level, disability, country of origin can cause students to face the greatest barriers. I urge you to think of what it truly means to remove our students from their known supportive community during these critical early education years. Do you really have no other solutions than tipping the scale in favor of funds and specialty programs instead of those at higher risk? Rise up. Thank you.
Hi, thankful to be here and be heard tonight. I'd like to discuss your commitment to each and every student and their education outcomes and what that means, what I think it means to me. And I think it's three things. First, it's great teachers. The second is great administrators. And the third is a great family support structure. My son's enrolled at Sherwood Forest. He's in the dual language program. Every morning I walk him to school and I observe firsthand the excellent care he receives there, and he's thriving. The teachers, administrators, the support staff, and the family there so obviously care deeply about the outcomes of their students and are upholding the values of this school board. I'm here tonight because I have the resources to be here. I'm dual income. I can afford childcare. And if you decide to close or repurpose Sherwood Forest, I will be slightly inconvenienced. My son will have to take the bus to school instead. Let's go back to the commitment to the outcomes. I said it's three things. Great teachers and great administrators. First, I think you need to support them through this change in this process and take their input. Second, family support structure. And I'll echo Colleen's points 100%. School closures disproportionately affect the less advantaged and the families that can't be here tonight. I'll leave you with this. Maximizing the outcome means minimizing the disruptive effects on the family support system that the school closures are going to have on our most vulnerable and disadvantaged kids in the district. Thank you.
The district has made it clear why we have to cut the budget. While it's important to be efficient, it's even more important to do the right thing by our children. To that end, all 7 impacted schools, Ardmore, Eastgate, Ennetai, Phantom Lake, Sherwood Forest, Wilburton, and Woodridge, respectfully ask BSD to review the proposed school closures against BSD Equity and Accountability Policy 130 and to report the results publicly before any decisions are made. This report should complement BSD's fiscal assessment, but focus on equity impacts and best options. Why is this necessary? We feel that the current proposal disproportionately affects Black, African American, and Hispanic Latino students, as documented in the joint letter to the school board that our PTSA submitted on Monday. Doesn't address the potential to cause inequities for students who qualify for free and reduced lunch and students with special needs. Doesn't communicate the impact on neighborhood schools of sending students to advanced learning programs at a few select and mostly wealthy schools. Doesn't weigh options such as providing AL resources at more neighborhood schools, relocating AL programs, or placing new programs such as the Arabic language program at impacted schools. Doesn't address issues created by consolidating 2 Title I schools. While this may save title funding, it also ring fences the most disadvantaged children and consolidates the stigma, reduces PTSA funding, and limits the economic integration that they struggle with today. We believe that it's just as important for BSD to be equitable as it is to be fiscally responsible. An equity assessment may yield the same conclusions as the fiscal assessment, or it may yield other alternatives. In either case, doing this work will show our community that BSD is truly committed to equity as well as efficiency. We have excellent leaders in BSD who have experience building programs and policies for equity and inclusion, including Shamari Jones, Eva Collins, and Kelly Aramaki, all of whom have been instrumental in supporting our Title I schools. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Jarvis, school board members, and district staff. My name is Diane Strom, and thank you for the opportunity to comment tonight about the district's process for closing schools. As a community engagement practitioner, I understand what you're going through. Open houses, reading comments, answering questions, using all that input and feedback to make decisions. This is a challenging topic with hard conversations, and I truly appreciate the professionalism and diligence displayed by your team. But as a working parent of a 3rd grader at Sherwood Forest, I agree with the other speakers about the rush process, the inequity, and other concerns. I would have expected more time to develop a comprehensive K-12 plan in collaboration with communities, just as the district did in 2018 and 2019, when collaborating with the committee to develop the growth and planning report that was presented to the board in October 2019. I'm disappointed this process was named and described as planning for the future, a nondescript name, which sounds like a normal planning process. Imagine the engagement the district would have had having been clear with the looming funding issues causing near-term closures. As it is, my opportunity to influence your decision on closing schools seems limited to a confusing and inherently divisive process. I asked the district consider the following priorities. You've asked, what's the priority, the school building or the services and educational opportunities? In the case of Sherwood Forest, it's both. The services that support Title I students, multilingual, Spanish dual language, preschool, and Pacific students are critical and part of our community. And the building itself was designed for inclusiveness and adequate space so that Pacific students are integrated into their grade levels. To consolidate the Sherwood Forest community into other schools would be a waste of this purpose-built school. On opportunities for the consolidation process, the district must move from informing to collaborating with families on the process from the start. The affected schools should have a parent-staff committee at the start to shape the consolidation process.
I'm sorry, your time is
And
up.
special program. Thank you for your time.
Hello, board and executive staff. My name is Erica, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the NNTI PTSA. I've written to you before, as I know many others have, about the importance of NNTI as a home to my children. We, as many in our community, see NNTI as a central hub as well as a school. We play on the playground, we practice sports on the field, we run into our neighbors, both intentionally and accidentally, because it's so central to the neighborhood. But apart from the personal, NNTI has had robust successes in the full inclusion of our special needs students, for which it was a pilot school, and the implementation of the science and literacy. Both of these programs have been so successful as to have been implemented at other schools, and both are as successful as they are because of the incredible collaborative teamwork that's been fostered by our staff under Principal Amy McDonald's excellent leadership. I've seen the effects of these programs in my own children, in their confidence in reading, in the empathy they have for other students. And I know that this culture of warmth, of collaboration, of inclusion is what is a goal for the district as a whole. It has been built over years of long-term relationships and trust, and I beg you to keep it intact as you consider the factors that will direct your decisions. The remainder of the statement was originally going to be to reiterate the request for answers in the questions that the PTSA jointly sent last week. I've seen that the district has put out the FAQ page, which addresses some of them. I thank you for that work. Thank you, Deputy Superintendent DeVita, for some of the other answers tonight. What I will now ask is that you please try to be as open and transparent as possible as this process moves forward, so that we have actual data, timelines, the processes that we can expect. I personally was able to get some clarity on confusing items at the community open house earlier this week, but one individual answer that isn't spread broadly leaves a lot of the community in the dark. I know that this leadership in this district is composed of incredibly skilled, compassionate, caring people who have undoubtedly worked through all the scenarios with an eye towards both the finances and the needs of our most vulnerable students, and we're asking for insight into that process. Please help
Sorry, your
us to
time
be
is up.
equal partners in supporting the needs of the district while taking care of our kids. Thank you.
We are reading a letter today on behalf of Marla Iwata, who is unable to attend due to the unfortunate scheduling of the online meeting tonight for families with kids in Olympic, Pacific, and Cascade special education programs. Good evening, board members. I apologize, I am not able to be there for the meeting and say this in person. My name is Marla Iwata, and I'm the parent of a child in the Olympic program at Eastgate Elementary. We have had a very positive experience thus far with the program and all of the Eastgate staff we've come into contact with. They've all shown us a lot of support and kindness throughout the 3 years we have been there. As with many families, I'm sure in the Olympic program, Eastgate is not our home school, but has become a second home to my daughter. As with many children with special needs, predictability is essential for my daughter's success, much more so than a neurotypical child. Having the consistency of the same school and staff helps her with anxiety and lets her be excited to go to school every day. Also similar to other families with special needs kids, we also face the challenge of scheduling with multiple outside specialists in areas such as physical, occupational, or speech therapy. Coordinating schedules is a real challenge, even in the best of times, and in any transition of the program from one school facility to another, with resulting changes to necessary travel times, school start times, etc., can have outsized impacts on the ability of families like ours to ensure that we are able to provide our child the support she needs to be successful. The Olympic program is a very special program, and Eastgate is a very special school. We feel fortunate to be a part of this community, and we ask that you please consider keeping Eastgate open for our wonderful and unique kids. Thank you for your time tonight.
Hello, everyone. My name is LaShawn King. I'm a parent at Woodridge Elementary, and I've got two small kids there, and they're too small to come to talk tonight. So I would like to cede my time to a recent graduate of Woodridge, Margot.
Hi, I'm Margot Dobson, and I graduated from Woodridge Elementary last year. As you decide how to solve the district's financial problems, here's what I want you to know about Woodridge, which is the heart of our neighborhood. First of all, my dad started walking me to school on my first day of preschool, and he's walked me almost every day until my last day in 5th grade. As a young dad, he dreamed of doing this, and as we walked, we shared many great conversations and created great memories. I hope to do this with my kids too and hold their hands, just like my dad did with me. Woodridge is a magical community. The school is built into the center of a neighborhood filled with wonderful people who surround it and support with volunteers, fundraising, coffee carts, and snacks, you name it. Teachers and staff there include everyone and make us all feel so welcome. The beloved librarian has become a household name for generations. Being at Woodridge is like being in one big family. Kids of all ages who have graduated come back to see the teachers and meet up at the playground weekly. The playground is the central place to connect with other kids and make lifelong memories, which is something, and connecting and making bonds is something we need more than ever right now. Tons of students meet up after school on weekends at the playground and making memories, friends, and building lifelong bonds. It would be such a shame to deprive future students of such an amazing school connections and the strong community feel in their elementary school experience. Thank you.
I'm Layla, and I've got a few friends who'd like to speak.
I'm Henry Stover.
I am Oscar Wise.
Hola, me llamo Henry Stover. Soy un estudiante de cuarto grado en el programa de lenguaje dual en español en la escuela primaria Sherwood Forest. Now I'm going to tell you why I don't want you to split up the students at Sherwood into different schools. First, if the kids are split up into different schools, some people cannot be close friends. Second, if the dual language program goes somewhere else, families who want to be in the dual language program will have to go to a whole different school. Finally, I think that Sherwood has the best staff, and I will be sad if I don't have them next year.
My name is Oscar Wise, and I am in 4th grade dual language program at Sherwood Forest. I am here today to tell you just a few reasons why Sherwood is special. Algunas veces un nuevo estudiante llega a nuestro salón de un país que habla español y nosotros los ayudamos. Sometimes a new classmate arrives from a Spanish-speaking country and our class is there to help them. Todos ayudan uno al otro. Por ejemplo, si hay una cosa que algunos no entienden, otros estudiantes que lo saben ayúdanlos. Everyone helps each other. An example is that there are things that challenge some students and the other students help them understand it. Finalmente, nuestros maestros compran cosas para ayudarnos. Finally, our teachers even buy things with their own money to help us. I hope you consider these reasons when you make your decision. Gracias por tu tiempo. Thank you for your time. And now I would like to finish this off by singing the Sherwood Forest chant. 5, 6, 7, 8. Stone Sherwood Forest, home of the Pumas, and we will be estudiantes exitosos, demostrando respeto by making good decisions, resolvemos problemas, becoming a solution, afirmando, inspiring each and every one of us to learn and thrive, creadores del futuro. We are Sherwood, hogar de las Pumas. Roar! Roar!
Hi, I just wanted to introduce Lillian. She's a third grader at Enetai.
Enetai should stay open because it is one of a kind and it is a special part of the community. If Enetai closed, no other school I could go to would compare or even come close. The after-school clubs and programs are special and some are run by the parents of students. In art, we do projects with instructions and plenty of room for creativity. In music, we do performance and get to pick our parts. In library, we get to access the web and learn all about the world. In BE, we never feel like losers, even if we have lost. The students and staff are nice and it is easy to make friends. We have lots of people to help kids with special needs and to make sure nobody feels left out. The food is healthy and tasty. It is a safe place and we get good education. Enetai is a special place inside and out.
Hi there. I'm here to read a prepared statement on behalf of PTAs from the 7 impacted schools. We have concerns about the closures and their likely impact on the equity as well as fiscal planning. We also have concerns about the data used to support closing schools and the projected impact of these closures. We respectfully ask that BSD and the board take the time to adequately consider reasonable alternatives to closing schools. In October of 2019, the district presented a plan for growth and planning. The development of the plan included an in-depth analysis, a timeline of how the community was engaged, a committee approach, and a discussion of how these strategies fit into the district's 5-year strategic plan. We understand that because of the hold harmless removal, the district is moving quickly. But if we had such thorough engagement around growth in 2019, why do we not have similar engagement in the community around school closures? We're also requesting a review of the relevant policies, which I acknowledge that Melissa DeVita addressed tonight. But we do not believe that the district has met the standards set forth in these policies for the collection of critical criteria regarding the potential closures. Stakeholders who will be affected by these decisions have not been given sufficient opportunity for real dialogue. We've heard from many families that they are both angry and disappointed with the lack of answers that they are getting from BSD. We are standing here together on behalf of the 7 schools to respectfully request a review of the applicable laws and policies, clear communication from BSD with data and answers to the many questions that we have already submitted, and a stronger proposal from BSD with specific data analysis, alternative options, and details addressing disparities. Our community understands this is a situation where drastic measures may need to be taken, but we're asking that the board hold the district accountable to answer the questions we have, to follow the correct legal process, and to involve more stakeholders in the decision. Thank you very much for your time today.
My name is Tiffany Reimergarten. I am a Woodridge kindergarten teacher, Bellevue resident, and parent. I'm speaking today to ask for transparency in the decision-making process and to ask that the board and district leaders create a budget that is in the best interest of students. How can we make these budget decreases further away from students in classrooms? What are all of the different options you've considered to decrease the budget? At the community forum, broad numbers and percentages were presented with no specifics. There was no transparency about what the budget is actually spent on. You cited 300 plus million spent on staffing. How many of those staff members work in buildings with children on a daily basis? How much of our budget is spent on people who are not located in school buildings? How has this number changed as our enrollment has decreased? Small schools and small class sizes are better for students. Closing schools will decrease support for students unless staffing per building is increased. We have this opportunity to meet students' needs and to censor equity in our decisions. We have an opportunity right now to have lower class sizes and provide more supports for students who need it. We are just beginning to recover from the devastating effects of the pandemic. The smaller class sizes and school size that we have now are meeting students' needs. Classroom teachers, support specialists, counselors, principals, and vice principal are able to respond to needs. They are still busy all day long. If you increase the school size by 100 to 300 more students, but don't increase those supports, students will be worse off than they are now. As an experienced teacher who has faced class sizes from 18 to 30, I can tell you that class size has the biggest impact on student learning. Smaller class sizes allow teachers to support each student as needed and differentiate instruction. The years that I've had larger class sizes have been heartbreaking because those years I've known what my students need to be successful, but was unable to provide it due to too many students to serve. Smaller school size allows us to have a better sense of community and increase students' sense of belonging. As you talked about student well-being tonight, maintaining those supports for students, if we move to a bigger school, that we'll have less support, less time with counselors, less time with admin. We've experienced it before and students weren't as successful. Thank you.
Hi, my mom said to thank you for your tireless hours of work in supporting the district. Here's what I have to say. My name is Zoe Russell and I'm a current fifth grader at Eastgate. I've been there since first grade and I have a brother in second grade there. Last weekend, my brother and his friends put on a hot cocoa stand and raised $175 to keep Eastgate. Here are some things that I love about our school. The teachers make learning fun and encourage us to work together. Everyone is kind and welcoming, like when we have a new student. When I was new, I met someone at Popsicles with Principals event, and she was really inclusive and kind. Then she included me at recess. There are also many different cultures at Eastgate, and I've really liked learning about them and becoming friends with kids from other backgrounds. When the pandemic hit, I was very worried in second grade, but in third grade, when we were doing virtual learning, my teacher, Miss Rosenthal, made me feel very included and safe. When we came back, it was one of my favorite years at Eastgate. She's one of my favorite teachers there, and I just love Eastgate so much. And I'm going to miss it when I go to middle school. I don't think any kid should have to lose their school, especially like this. Please find another answer. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone who has spoken. Julianne Gar and Tupesh, if you are online, please press the raise hand button now so that we can see you. In the meantime, I will say that of the 51 people who registered before the deadline yesterday, 31 of them were told that we did not have room for them to speak tonight. 8 of those people have let me know that they would like to be on standby to speak in case there is a spot for them. You've heard from 14 commenters so far tonight. I would like to ask the board to hear from all 8 of the people who are on standby.
I would motion that we support that request.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, I think I'm getting from unanimous consent. We will do that and we will extend it to be able to hear the people on standby.
Thank you. So I've put the names on the next slide if we can advance the presentation. The names are in no particular order except that the folks online are the 2 last names on there. So we'll go next with Becca Anardi.
Hi, I'm Becca Nardi. I didn't think I was going to make it, so I don't have a speech prepared for you. But I have two students at Sherwood and then one student at Highland Middle School, and we have been at Phantom Lake in the past as well. I just want to acknowledge that the community has come together, the 7 schools, and worked incredibly well. As you can imagine, it's hard, and you've all been on PTAs. It's hard to agree on any one concept. You received the letter from us, and it took us 4 days to agree on that. And it was a lot of hard work and collaboration, but just extrapolate that and imagine if you were to give us, or not you, if the district were to provide us with the information that we have asked for and said, you guys have 2 weeks to figure out what your solution would be to this $20 million deficit. You would be giving us some ownership in the process. Schools might need to close still. That might have to be an option, but it wouldn't be being done to us. It would be being done with us. The fact that the staff haven't been included in these decisions is absolutely appalling. It's the people in the high tower is what it feels like. And we're like just being told what we have to do and what we have to follow. So we're asking for transparency. If you could give us the information we are asking for, we can make a decision, and we might go, yeah, you're right, 2 schools do have to close. And here's how we can divide up boundaries so that we're not putting all of the Title I students in one school and segregating them, or so that we're giving the Pacific program the best opportunity. So we're just asking for a seat at the table for us and for the staff. I think that's really important. Bellevue has been the best district in the state. And if we want to continue to be the best district in the state, this certainly doesn't look good for families trying to move into the area. Thank you.
Good evening and thank you. My name is Victor Stover and I'm a parent of 2 students at Sherwood Forest Elementary. I'm here today to voice serious concerns about the school consolidation process. I recognize that the district must reduce costs because funding has decreased and that nobody wants to do this. However, I have substantial concerns about the process and the potential impacts on students. First, the community engagement process is completely inadequate for a decision of this magnitude. When Bellevue School District considered adjusting school attendance areas in 2012 and 2016, the district formed committees that included community members to participate in the process. And again, in 2019, the district described a process for growth that included committees and a robust public process. Why has the district not followed these precedents and engaged the community in a meaningful process before recommendations are developed? Second, I have substantial equity concerns with the district's potential consolidation plan. Bellevue School District's equity and accountability policy states that the board commits to, quote, provide system-wide direction, support, oversight, and shared accountability to advance equity and eliminate inequities in our Bellevue School District community. My greatest concern is that consolidating the schools identified on the district's list has the potential to disproportionately impact underserved students and increase inequities in the district. The schools proposed to be consolidated include all the schools, on average, have more students who identify as Black, African American, or Hispanic Latino, students who qualify for free or reduced lunch, and multilingual learners. Consolidating these groups would concentrate more underserved students into a smaller number of buildings, increasing inequality within the district. The schools that are not proposed to be consolidated include all of the schools with self-contained advanced learning programs. These programs attract students from neighborhood schools across the district, which contributes to declining enrollment in neighborhood schools. It also gives the schools with advanced learning higher enrollment, insulating them from the risk of consolidation. I implore the board to hold the district accountable and to follow the equity and accountability policy. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lisa Ross. I'm going to talk to you as fast as I possibly can. I wasn't sure I was going to even get a chance to speak tonight. So first, I want to start by saying we've all just been through this pandemic. These children finally have a chance at a normal school year, their first one. And now you're talking about ripping all of that apart. This is not the time to rush to a decision. You need to take everything you've heard today from all of these commentators to heart. One common core here is that you need to stop, think about this, strategize it, have discussions with every different part of this community that matters. For instance, Wilburton's on the chopping block. Do you know that 10% of our children are experiencing homelessness? Do you know that having a stable school is extremely important for their mental health and well-being? But yet it's on the list. I'm not going to go into the inequality stuff because I think that's been highly covered today. And I just ask that you really do pay attention to it. I also want to raise, I've got a lot of questions about the data. I understand that the same demographer who said we needed to build new schools because we have all this enrollment coming in is the same one that now says we have to close. How about we get a second or third opinion? Why are we counting on one individual's information, which has already been proven to be flawed previously? Okay. My other concern, after school care. I haven't heard a whole lot of people talking about this. And when I've asked in these meetings, I get told, oh yeah, we're going to be way over capacity. We're going to have to bus those kids to other locations. My question is, what location? Can those parents actually afford to go pick their kids up at that location by taking extra time off of work to do so? Who's going to pay for all those extra buses to move those kids around? We already have a problem with after school care because Right at School was a complete and utter failure. My child lost her after school care. I had to take a week off of work just to try and figure out what I was going to do. Thank God Boys and Girls Club stepped up. But how are you going to handle this when you move all of these children that theoretically have inequality issues, parents that work, single household parenthoods, and they rely on that after school care? I haven't heard a good idea on that. So you take a step back. There's not a lot of answers for a ton of questions. You need to stop. We need to reevaluate and we need to figure this out. But we need another normal school year next year while we strategize for the following. Thank you.
No, it's bad. I thought I wasn't going to make it, but I stand with all 7 schools. I've been in Bellevue for almost 25 years, raised 3 daughters in all of the schools. Any school that they're closing, especially Sherwood Forest, Ardmore and staff, it's not going to be good for us. You didn't see many people that look like me that are here tonight because some of them are doing 2 jobs or 3 jobs to afford to be here. So I am here as a community person. When we first heard that the schools were going to close, nobody called us or ask us what's going on, what we can do to fix it. We have been telling them we can help if they just give us the little resources we need to work with these families so that they can stick around. Most of them have moved back to their home countries, and most of them we have moved them to Puyallup because of the equity piece, also not being accepted in the school districts and stuff. And when we talk, and culturally, they are not serving them with the way they need to be served. So that's why most of them has left. But each and everyone in this room, your school is closing. I stand with you. And I am from Africans on the East Side. We are just a small nonprofit in Bellevue. We work with all schools, and I do it with graduate students from Bellevue School District and University of Washington. So anything you need, you can come. I can give you my number and we can continue working and helping you guys figuring out. I love Bellevue. I raise all my daughters. Like I said, they are all graduates, but we need to dig deep and see what we are missing and why we are in this mess again and again and again.
Leah, are you here tonight?
Is she online?
I do not see her online. Leah, if you are online, please click the raise hand button. And Sean Hill, if you will please go ahead and come up. And Leah, please let us know if you're here.
Good evening. I'm here and honored to read a letter that has been signed by over 400 people just today. So it's not me, I'm reading for everyone. We as individuals and families directly impacted by the proposed Bellevue School District closures are writing to formally object to the Bellevue School District process currently underway to address budget shortfalls by closing selected elementary schools. This process has come across as hasty, opaque, and disingenuous, leaving many in our larger community frustrated, angry, and distrustful of the Bellevue School District, as evident by the 1,450 people who have signed other petitions. And we'd like you to involve more stakeholders and more options in the decision-making process. Only to close schools as a last resort. And we need to be part of that process. We request public access to the data sets and methodology used to arrive at the projections of decreasing student enrollment and the conclusion that the trend is due largely to area population decline in children. The number of individuals, including data science experts in our school community, have raised questions about the modeling methodology employed by Mr. Bingham and have concerns about other causal factors not included in the analysis. Many more can offer anecdotal reasons why friends and neighbors have opted for local private schools, and some of us have considered or are definitely considering the same. We ask you to include a team of representatives from our school community in the recommendation process to ensure open channels of communication with constituents. Those of us who remain in the district would welcome the opportunity to work with you as stakeholders to better understand the data behind all of this. Lastly, if we as a collective of district decision makers in the school community ultimately recommend one or more elementary schools to be closed, we request meaningful involvement and due process of school closures as required by RCW 28A.355.020, the Washington State Administrative Code, and BSD Policy 6883. We need to be involved. We need you to work with us. We need more time. With all due respect, communities are built with us. It's not something that Ms. DeVitas can put together for you.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
I have AK online, so I've given you the ability to turn on your mic and camera.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and
Okay.
clear.
Great, thank you. Hi, my name's Allison Craigsley, and I'm a parent of 3 kids, all 3 of whom have attended Ennetai Elementary. We moved to Washington State just recently, and we came specifically to Bellevue for the schools. Our family was welcomed into the Ennetai community, and the model of inclusion and high quality of education has been the best of any of the districts that we've experienced, including Montgomery County, Maryland, and Palm Beach County, Florida. After the chaos of the last few years, yet another disruption to these kids and these families really breaks my heart. And listening to these comments today is really tough. I understand that everybody is facing a tough decision and that there are challenges with the budget, but I do stand with the PTSAs and request additional information into the transparency of the process and provide open access to the data that is being used for these decisions, and for us to feel like we're actually included in the decision-making rather than bystanders. As others have said, this is a tough decision, and this is something that may need to be addressed, and there may need to be school closures. But it feels like this process is not one that's being open and with families and community involvement. So I thought about trying to run my kids over and have them sing the Ennetai song, but I think it's too hard for them to think about their school closing. So I think I just want to thank you all, and I want to reiterate our commitment to our school and our family and the beating heart of the Ennetai community, which is the Ennetai school. So thank you very much for your time.
Okay. Chloe, thanks for hanging in there with us. We see you on camera.
Hello, good evening. My name is Chloe John. I'm a 6th grader in Chinook Middle School, and I graduated from Ennetai as a class of 2022. Today, I want to speak in front of the Bellevue School District Board members on why Ennetai Elementary should not close. I have 5 major reasons why. Firstly, the staff that work at Ennetai are kind and understanding. This includes the counselor, the librarian, the administrators, and the special ed teachers. When I moved from California to 3rd grade, the teacher was very welcoming and kind. I have a special shout out to my 5th grade teacher and my brother's 3rd grade teacher, Ms. Fisher. She always made learning fun, and on holidays, we would spend a while on arts and crafts. Secondly, Anatai has been our neighbor school for 70 years. Most of my neighbors, including 3 kids from our previous homeowner, sent their kids and grandkids to Anatai. If Anatai closes, all of us in our larger community will lose the heritage and our deep roots to remember and cherish our early learning experiences and our precious childhood memories. Thirdly, Anatai hosts PTSA events like the Carnival. The Carnival is an important tradition that everyone enjoys. It comes with activities, sweets, and most importantly, the fire truck. The fire truck has a huge hose and they spray the water into the sky so it feels like it's raining. Everyone enjoys the sensation of the water pouring down and running back and forth. Fourthly, the special education is amazing. When my brother joined the school, he had to have a paraeducator to help him since he had special needs. The paraeducator helped with him with many things, and they also helped others. If Anatai closes, my brother and many others with special needs would have to endure the stress of finding a new school and getting settled. Lastly, I designed the school logo, and the school picked my design. And if Anatai closes, the logo would be thrown away, and all the hard work I put into it would be wasted. Thank you for listening, and I hope this helps you make a good decision.
Thank you, Chloe. Julianne, I've clicked the button to let you turn on your camera and mic.
Hi, good evening. I'm Julianne, and I'm a parent at Eastgate in Tillicum. I have 3 boys, and beside me is Aiden. He's in his 6th year at the amazing Eastgate Elementary. I'd like to share how low enrollment and change has impacted our neighborhood and most importantly, the children. I asked the district to, number 1, consider reintroducing specialty programs in the neighborhood schools, and 2, tread cautiously when managing change and transition with children. Aiden would like to share his experience.
When I walk home from school, there are so many kids in the street from buses. They're not from Eastgate. I don't know why. I don't know their names, but they live right near me. Why don't they go to my school? I don't have a best friend at school right now. So many of them have left. In first grade, 2 kids went to Spirit Ridge and 1 went to Chestnut Hill. Then COVID hit and nobody really could have play dates. And when we were back full time in 4th grade, the classes went from 3 to 2 classes. Kids cried and yelled in the class all the time. It was stressful. I felt a lot of the time. I felt sick a lot of the time from worrying. This has been a really hard 5 years for me, and I do not want to do this again in middle school. And I don't understand why so many kids my age that live near me go to other schools and why the district thinks kids feel good with so much change.
This is heartbreaking. No child should experience this level of stress and sadness. And he's right. Our neighborhood by Lattimore Park is flourishing with families, but the kids are being bused across the city to so many different schools within the Bellevue School District, not Eastgate. Consider an option to provide advanced learning or maybe the new Arabic program in the neighborhood schools. Help us all grow and unite. Also, BSD Resolution 2018-24 states the board values the humanity of each and every student you serve and is committed to equitably serving each and every student as you roll out a new strategy and annual plans. Please listen to the children, incorporate their stories and needs in the decisions of any future plans. All children, especially our kids and families in the Olympic program or marginalized children, need to be heard. You need to listen to the kids, the families, and hear their stories. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thanks to everyone who commented tonight. That is the end of my list.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to everyone who attended tonight for public comment. We are truly grateful. As the superintendent said, he will continue his superintendent update now. But I think as Deputy Superintendent DeVita also explained, the timeline and date for final proposal is still forthcoming.
Yeah.
Am I correct? Okay.
So want me to continue with we have item 3.2. Some may not be aware that we still do accreditation and outside agencies to make sure the quality of our programs.
Can we pause for a sec so we can hear you? Because there's so much movement. Could we just give it 60 seconds?
And just take a 3-minute break. So if we could, just a 3-minute break if, and we can go longer if somebody needs more time. Okay, we're returning to our regular session, and I hand it over back to Dr. Jarvis for 5.1.
Thank you, Madam President. Our second item, schedule 3.2, is in recognition that we have had our schools go through the accreditation process. And if I may, for just a second, I'm going to introduce Patty Sigworth to represent. We just lost, I think, 3 of our principals that had to go supervise. So Patty, would you introduce this for a second?
Good evening, board. Last year, we had 5 of our high schools go through a very rigorous accreditation process, and that was facilitated through the Puget Sound ESD. We had support on that. It was really an opportunity for us to assess our effectiveness, seek input from our constituencies, identify our progress, look for avenues and opportunities to grow. And each of the 5 successfully completed the accreditation process. It's something that occurs approximately every 7 years. We have reviews along the way, just as we would with a strategic plan. And I would just say the engagement of our principals with varied constituencies in the process was incredibly impressive, and their opportunities to shift practices based on the information that they learned on evaluating progress was equally impressive. I'd just like to apologize. Unfortunately, some of our other principals, they were here tonight, but they have duties such as supervision of athletics and activities, and they needed to leave for their duties. So I'll make sure and pass this on to our other 4 principals and recognize them at a staff meeting and the school and the community.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening.
Jane, can you hear him?
Can you hear me?
No.
Okay. Good evening, President.
Oh,
Stafford.
yep, now.
There we go.
No, I
Okay.
can.
All right. Good evening, President Safran, members of the board, and Superintendent Art Jarvis. My name is Dr. Anthony Brown. I'm the Director of Learning, Leadership, and Student Success. I'm here with my colleague, Dr. Amber McCulloch, Executive Director of K through Post-Secondary. We are here to publicly recognize Bellevue, Interlake, International, Newport, and Sammamish High School for achieving their initial or renewed accreditation status for the next 6 years, 2022 through 2028. Through the AESD accreditation process. ESDs are regional service and support organizations serving early learning through K through 12 systems. There are 9 ESDs statewide. As one of the 9 ESDs, Puget Sound ESD encompasses 2 counties, 35 school districts of King and Paris counties, including Bainbridge Island. Our ESD is governed by a board of directors selected by the school board members of the 35 districts within the PSESD region. Washington's 9 ESDs collectively form the Association of Educational Service Districts. While ESDs primarily serves the needs of their respective regions, the ESD operates as a statewide network to provide common services at scale in all regions of the state. Accreditation is one such AESD statewide service. ESDs have been accrediting Washington schools since the mid-2000s is the largest accrediting body in Washington. As of now, there are close to 250 AESD accredited schools. Now I'll turn it over to Dr. McCulloch.
And I'll just add a little bit more to the accreditation process so you know why we're celebrating your incredible leaders that you have here. So it used to be that accreditation was a pretty bureaucratic process where you got an external stamp of approval, and sometimes the measures weren't useful or relevant to where schools were at. Accreditation is no longer required, so it's really evolved into this voluntary research-based process. So schools really wanting to do the work of getting better. So the goal is still to communicate this external stamp of approval, but it's really about being credible to the community and the families and students that schools serve. So the process that we use is a peer review to help schools identify and develop their strengths. Again, the primary goal is ongoing school and student improvement. AESD coaches work alongside school principals to develop a school improvement plan, which is required, but it's really about doing the work that's meaningful to schools and the work that they know will make a difference for their students. The process encompasses a six-step cycle of inquiry, action, and improvement, and it's grounded in 4 foundational requirements: data-driven, student achievement focused, research-based foundation and actions, and collaboratively determined. So that means including staff, community, parents, students. Usually this takes place over the course of a year, and then schools present to a board of ESD directors from across the state. And that accreditation process is then good for 6 years. There's a 3-year, third-year review just to check in and share how things are going. So this really is a pretty involved process that these schools voluntarily go through to make sure they're just doing the absolute best that they can for their students. So truly do appreciate the leaders engaged in this.
All right, now if we can, moment we've been waiting for, Brett Cochran from the Interlake High School. We'd like to recognize you and your school for successfully completing the AESD accreditation process during the 2021 through the 2022 school year, earning the 6-year AESD accreditation from 2022 through 2028. We hope that you will display this proudly and visibly in your school. Each school has received an electronic logo as an AESD accredited school, and we hope that you will use this on your website or in your school newsletters or publications to communicate the school's accreditation status.
And the last thing we'd want to add is that we wanted to share with you the commendations that the panelists themselves wrote. So of note, IHS staff and leadership have been very intentional and comprehensive at the micro and macro levels to build positive school culture, utilizing authentic feedback to inform strategies and practices. And as was shared, we'll ensure that the other plaques get into the hands of the building principals who were leading this process. But again, please join us in a round of applause for all the amazing work these leaders have done.
And I would just note somewhat parenthetically that Dr. Amber McCullough and I go back quite a ways, so it's such a pleasure to have her assisting us. Thank you, Amber.
I think we're wondering if perhaps a photo might be in order with Dr. Jarvis and Brett Cochran and the crew. So he's on his way over.
You know, Seema, while they're doing that, maybe it's just worth making a quick comment. I think in Bellevue, sometimes we take these types of events for granted, that they just happen. Of course, they'll happen, and they should, and we should be excited to always have them. But it does reflect a lot of work on the part of our principals, our teachers, our curriculum and instruction, teaching and learning staff, and our kids and our families. So thank you guys for coming out tonight to celebrate. And I do want everyone to know that all of our other principals were here. Like, I saw them waiting in the background, but they did not leave because they didn't want to be here. They, as I understand it, they had supervisory duties. So it's just one more thing that they do for our community.
Yeah, agreed. I saw them all in the back, and I think they understood that we needed to take public comment, and we'll follow up. So Director Jarvis, Superintendent Jarvis, Dr. Jarvis, does that conclude 5.1 or no, it does not, because I think
Given where we are, I'm going to conclude my report at that time. Other information I can get to the board in another manner. Thank you.
Okay. We will go now to 5.1. Excuse me, 6.1, our board business, and we have a report from, or just a follow-up actually, from Executive Director Harrison. From what I understood from before, this might be a little bit briefer because I understood from what you had shared that we're following up with you on process and format as well as some substance. But I think, as you know, there was a question of whether there was an update that needed to be made yet. So.
Great. So thank you, President Serafan. So what I'll do is just kind of see if I can capture for you where I believe we're at. So we had a really robust conversation at your pre-board meeting planning session last Monday. The feedback was excellent and very much appreciated. I've not made any substantive changes yet. And based on the conversation that we had last Monday, I think I explained, at least I hope I did adequately, that one of the key pieces was that, proposing first and second reading dates, especially for those short-term policies that I hope we're able to get to before the end of the school year. So based on that, I'm not seeking your approval at this time for the policy schedule. But given that you've had a little more time with the rolling policy schedule format, what I would appreciate is that if you have any additional substantive or specific feedback, to hear that at this point, if we're able to. And what that does is it gives me a little more additional time to absorb the information I heard on Monday and anything I hear tonight between now and your next pre-planning session meeting on February the 6th. And then it also provides you with a little bit more time to provide me with any additional feedback you may have, again, either tonight or later on. If you do have information, specific feedback between, after this evening, what I would ask is that you get that to me by Wednesday, February the 1st. And then what that would allow me to do is provide you with an updated document on February the 3rd that I could review for you on February the 6th. And then I would anticipate asking for your approval at the February 9th school board meeting. So that's kind of where I think we're at, President Serafan. So, over to you if there's time this evening for each director perhaps to share anything specific they may have, and then we can go from there.
So I believe, I know that Director Chu may already have something from what she and I communicated about earlier. So why don't I hear from her and we can just work our way through the various directors. Does that work?
Yeah, I'll be quick. So John, thanks for doing this. Great to see this all in motion. And a couple of us suggested the rolling policy is a good way to go. And I think it's going to work. It's great. I have three quick things. One is there was a change you had said you were making, that one of the policies was marked as medium term and was going to be shorter term. So I just wanted to make sure that got made.
I have not made that yet, but I've got that noted. It will be made. I did make the change in name to the student well-being policy.
That's thank you.
Probably the only change in the document right now, but I did document all the suggestions from Monday and plan on incorporating them later this week and over the weekend.
Okay, and then I just want to note 6883 and 1400 were requested to be added to the roll. And then my only question that I have kind of remaining is there's 5 policies at the bottom that are still TBD. And I don't feel like I have a real handle on what is the criteria for figuring out when and how we can fit those in. Like, why are they more on hold than the others?
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And any one of them very well may be a short-term, mid-term, or a long-term policy. But what all 5, I believe, have in common is that all of them need a little bit more discussion or information from my end before I would be comfortable saying short-term, mid-term, or long-term. So some of that's more discussion kind of internally with Dr. Jarvis and myself and others. So I just need a little bit more time on those, which is, again, part of the reason why tonight is not the night for approval. I'm not quite there yet.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, I will go to Director Watson.
Yeah, well, as you know,
I really like the way this tool is going and everything, but I just want to repeat myself. That one of the things I thought was that maybe that critical criteria, we could do it on everything and just modify I have it up right now, the exhibit that the 0130 piece, so that maybe in the reflection area or something, we could just say, we didn't do a review on this one because we did it 3 months ago, or we didn't do a review on this one because we only changed one word. And that way we'd make sure every single time we were referring to the critical criteria review.
That's
Yeah.
great feedback. Thank you,
Yeah.
Director Watson.
I'm going to go to either Director Aris or Vice President Shui. Can you let me know if one of you, I don't see Vice President Shui right now, so I'm going to.
I'm here.
Either of you. Okay. Would you like to go next?
No, I don't have any comments. Thank you.
Okay, Director Aris, do you have anything?
No, I'm sitting here appreciating Director Watson's comment about critical criteria being implemented with every policy that we're working through, whether it is to just put simply making a comment that we don't need a complete process, but just getting into the habit of utilizing that tool, I think is a great idea. So I just want to put an extra asterisk on that part. And I appreciate the rollout of the rolling policy schedule. Thank you for all the work that you put into it.
Thank you. So Executive Director Harrison, I don't have anything additional. I did take another look after you did the walkthrough on Monday, and I do like the format. So I think it's responsive to the suggestions and feedback you got from the board, as far as I can tell. I think that's what you're getting. Things can change over time, but this is a very good starting point, and I thought it was nicely pulled together. What I'm hearing from you is between now and shortly before our next board planning session, which I think will be on the 6th, you're welcoming feedback and input, and then we will see that the Friday before, which I think is February 3rd, if I heard you right. You would then give that to us for us to be able to look at before our 6th meeting, and then it would come up on the 9th. Is that right?
Correct. And I'll put a little informational piece in your update tomorrow, reminding you of those dates. And I appreciate the feedback. Thank you, board. Thank you, President Serafan.
Hey, thank you. I'm now going to make a motion, and I look for a second, and it's to go into a brief executive session. And so that would be taking item 9.0, which we have on our calendar of executive session, and just taking it out of order. The purpose of the executive session would be to discuss with legal counsel representing the district potential litigation to which the district is likely to become a party when public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in an adverse legal or financial consequence to the district. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, motion carries. We will stand in a brief recess. If I can suggest, if we want to take a break and then we go into our executive session. Brief recess for the purpose of the executive session. And then we can take a break but continue, and we will return. I believe I will suggest at approximately 7 p.m.
Is there a link for that?
I think we are creating that right now, and Hannah Worth will send it to you and to Director Aris, which is why I suggested a very short break.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
The board will extend its executive session by 15 minutes to 7:30. The board will extend its executive session by 10 minutes until 7:40 p.m.
Thank you. We're returning back from our executive session, and we return at this time and start with, I believe, what is agenda item 8, which is our director discussion. Since we are quite over time, I'm going to suggest we keep it to 15 minutes so that we can have a director discussion, but not go exceedingly late tonight. So I will go ahead and suggest, we've often started at one end of the alphabet or the other. Why don't I start in the middle? Director Shuey, would you like to start with director discussion?
Sure, thank you.
If
I'll
we
make
have,
it.
I guess if we have 15 minutes, we can each take about 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, great, thanks. Mainly, and I will keep it to one remark, and mainly what I wanted to say is congratulations to Dr. Aramaki and to the district. I'm really excited to see him selected as our new superintendent. I had the pleasure of working with him on a number of DAC cases and was very favorably impressed with how thoughtful he is and what he was able to do as far as listening to all voices. As in any group, you always have just disagreements or differences of perspective and opinion. And he really did, in all the meetings I've had with him, a stellar job making everyone feel heard and that their input was valuable and valued. And so wanted to say hooray and hurrah for that hire, and best of luck to him in his new role.
Thank you. I did get a text from him earlier with a picture with his balloons and cupcakes. So I don't have a way to post that, but it was nice to see. So I will invite anyone who'd like to go next. I realize I'm in the middle. I'm going to suggest Director Aris because I think you're approaching 6 a.m. where you are, and you're probably exhausted having stayed up all night, even though you're overseas. You've been joining us without fail in our meetings. So let me ask if you have anything that you wanted to say tonight.
I did, but as soon as you talked about the cupcakes and the balloons, my mind just slipped. Why don't we have someone else go first, and then I'll come, hopefully I'll remember what I meant to say.
Okay, Director Watson?
Okay. Unfortunately, what's top of mind for me is the discussion that we've been having all evening. And I just am going to say again, that I think that I would really like more details on what we would have to cut if we didn't do this, in the sense that what we've talked about counselors, librarians, maybe some of the classes in secondary, what the services are we would cut. And one of the reasons I'm asking, if we didn't close the school, is that community members I've discovered are trying to read the F-195 on their own, and they're coming up with all their own assumptions of what it might be. So I think it would be really helpful to give them and me even, so I can wrap my mind around it more, the details. And then I would also like to know if this is all, if we think these 3 schools are all the cuts we're going to need, or do we foresee even more enrollment drop and even more cuts down the line? So those are questions. I think I've asked them before. They're not like new questions, but I thought I'd just say I'm still worried about those things.
Director Chu?
Thanks. So I'm going to stay in the vein that Carolyn, Director Watson was just in, and I want to note a couple of things. In the spirit of our new superintendent, who hasn't started yet, but whom we announced tonight, saying one of the things that we need to focus on is gratitude, and then another is joy. And I think that I have deep gratitude for our staff who have worked tirelessly on trying to sort out the budgeting issues from the dropping enrollment and our needs to address that. There is so much that we must do so that we can be both solvent and responsible with our taxpayer money, but more importantly, so we can actually get the right programs to all our kids. So thank you. I'm also deeply, deeply grateful to our community for reminding us that they're part of the ride and they're part of the journey, and they take the time to come out and share their concerns with us, and they taken the time to attend these open houses. And I think that it makes a difference. All of that is being heard, and every iteration, everything I hear that's happening is, okay, we are now working on a much more transparent timeline. We're going to get that published. We're going to get that to you. I hear that we are going to work through a process. We're also going to get that much more clear, and we're going to get it to you. We just spent time in a closed session trying to understand the legal obligations and the laws around different things. And when we do that, you know, it makes sure that we are going to do all the right things. But that's not all it's about, right? It's about that, but it's about what we come here to talk about tonight, what people shared with us in terms of sharing their needs and of sharing their experiences, and finding a way to integrate that into the process is really important. I think we have a lot to learn and we have a lot to do, and we're going to do it together. And it's not anyone against anyone else. We're working on this. We're going to iterate on it, and we're going to get it right for kids, and we're going to get it right for our families, and we're going to do it together. And thank you for those who are taking the time to do that. Please look for more to come, because my understanding is that those great questions that Director Watson just asked, along with many of the ones that our community has asked, are going to pop up with more information, that when the board gets a recommendation, there'll be a lot more information, and that there are a lot more opportunities for the community to be part of defining this work moving forward. So I'm looking forward to that. I think those things are important, so I'm really counting on those things to happen. But thank you while we're working through it. Thank you to everyone who's with us. Let's find that gratitude for each other, and let's make sure that we do this together.
Okay, I think I'm last, but and I'll just say least, because I don't know that I will talk as much because I'm just out of words. But I think today was a really good and powerful day for many reasons, starting with the announcement of our new superintendent. But I will also say it is always weird when we have public comment and we end up having to say, we will not answer from up here. And I know that that does not often feel good. I often feel as a constituent when I write to a representative that my words are probably going into a black box and nobody's reading it, or maybe an assistant is reading it. But I just want to say that for what it's worth, you know, we are usually diligently taking notes and we are listening. And I see people sitting here and looking at us, and I know that this is time out of your evenings. I want you to know for what it's worth. You heard we're all volunteers, but we actually treat this like a job. I have a full-time job. Many of us also do. Some of us don't, but we all treat this like a full-time job, and we do read every single thing that people send. And sometimes we reread it. We usually follow up, but especially when the volume's high, we don't often go back and write each person an email. And for what it's worth, I have done that. And sometimes during the pandemic, I would write long replies, and I would never hear back from the person anyway. So I kind of wondered, why am I doing that? So it is always often a challenging balance, because if you end up writing everybody, thanks for your input on enrollment and consolidation challenges, they get the sense that this is just a canned response. So all we can do is just let you know we are intently listening and we are reading what you say. Don't feel that this is not getting processed. It is part of something bigger. And so it's not much to offer, but I hope at least I can share that. I see people online. I know you're here. At least I just like to say that. So I think with that, we adjourn our meeting, and we do, as others said. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you were going to come back. So you do have the last word. Go ahead, Director Aris.
Thanks. Actually,
The
I have a couple of
cupcake
comments.
threw everybody off. I remember. Okay, go ahead.
I want to say a couple of things to align with. I wanted, let's first say no system is perfect, and education is always a evolving system. With that, with every challenge that comes, we're trying to evolve to be better. With I appreciate and I want to make sure that I make a comment myself, though I've heard other board members say something similar, which is to say thank you to the communities for stepping up and writing emails, showing up to our board meeting and making public comments, or maybe even grabbing us in either phone calls or other ways of communications. Thank you, and I think what I'm hearing is all of us are hearing or we're listening, and I sincerely thank you for that. I also apologize for the anxiety and the stress that our community is going through. It's not a fun time. It's not a fun conversation to have with your spouse or with your children or your other family members. But I think we can make it through as a community. That said, I do have an ask for our board to consider. I know that we've doubled our time in public comments to 40 minutes. And from my understanding, we've had over 50 people sign up prior to the deadline, but we could not give time to everyone. Is it possible for us for our next meeting? Because I think it's really important that we create as much space for our community to have an opportunity to share their thoughts and concerns and their celebrations, because we heard a lot of great celebrations of their schools, the things that they really liked about their schools. And I think those are as important to be heard as well. Can we consider, instead of doubling it, just make it a full hour? I think this is one of those times in our experience as a district that we need to make that extra time to hear everyone out.
Yeah, we're going to be doing the agenda tomorrow. We'll be doing the planning for February 9th, and I think that's a great suggestion. We'll definitely factor that in. So what I heard you ask for, Director Aris, was to consider an hour for next time's public comment, and so we'll definitely talk through that with the group tomorrow. I just want to not make sure I'm not assuming you're done. Was that your final comment, or did you?
Yeah, that's my
Okay.
final comment.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, you're right smack on time. I don't know, I guess it's 6 a.m. in Africa, but it's 8 p.m. here. And so we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
And good morning.